guys got all your utensil, like a pen or pencil, I'm gonna start preparing you guys through the story sheet. Okay, so my personal project was Korean awareness. So these are gonna be 3 stories about defectors, about 3 defectors, quick history, how it affects human rights, and the changes that have been happening, and what you can do to help out. So here are some pre-questions. So, what is your definition of human rights, and can you name at least 3? So who's heard of human rights?
So write your answers in 1 and 2. This is the first 2 questions. 1 and 2.
Okay, so like that's how like all the handles.
So
it's okay.
Oh, repeat it again. Maybe they didn't hear. Sorry.
So like, what's your definition of human rights? So, anyone know? No. Okay. So it's basically, what rights can you think of that all humans should have? And these are just 3 questions, and you don't have to have a right answer. Yeah?
Equality?
Yeah, like equality. Yeah, freedom of speech. Think of like the amendment. Like that's what like a lot of them are. So take time on that and go to the next slide. Here's some human rights. So let's see. Oh, we got freedom equal. We got some freedom of speech. These are just 12 out of the 30 rights that are currently available on the United Nations website. So we got freedom equal, not to discriminate, right to life, no slavery, no torture. We all have the same right to use the law, be protected by that law, fair treatment in the courts, and no unfair detainment. So you can't be detained for like no reason. Like you dropped like a newspaper on the floor and get arrested for like 12 years. That's unfair. Right to a trial, right to an education, and marriage and family. So you should be able to choose who you want to marry, who you want to date, like what education can be available for you, and there's so on and so forth. But I want to cover these because these are the first 12, and in North Korea these have been broken so many times. Like if you like to break it down, it will probably last like decades that these rights have been broken. So here's some quick history. So really, the effects of North Korea being created started out in the Russo-Japanese War that started out in the 1900s. It was a battle between Japan and Russia, because Russia was ruling Korea at that time. And during that time, Japan won through a naval battle. So they got control of the sea around them, and that's how they were able to overcome the Russians. And for a while, they were the rulers. So whatever they said went in Korea. But after World War II, when they lost the right to rule Korea. So Korea became an independent country. But what happened is that 2 governments formed, and they clashed in June of 1950. And so it became so much that the North attacked, and they crossed the 30th parallel, which is what separates them. And seeing that it was a third war, 20 countries helped fight in the war, and when the 2 hit like a stalemate, which is just basically like they're not over conquering each other. They're just like so much bloodshed for like no reason. They decided to call an armistice in July 27, 1953, which was signed. So basically, like you get that territory, I get this territory, but we don't cross the DMZ, which is the 30th parallel, where both guards there are 2 different guards watching the parallel, so no one can get out or in to any other country. And so now we're going to talk about what breaks down a refugee. So there are 3 attributes to contribute to the problem of defectors when they escape the North. So it's not like I escaped, I'm free, I'm really a taco. No, it's like they suffer through physical, mental abuse, and a repetition of like the fear for their leaders. They're always in fear that Kim Jong Un's gonna come at the night and like take them back to North Korea. And for some they can handle it more than others. Like all of them get like some sort of treatment, like therapy, psychiatric help. Some have to be admitted to hospitals because they try to commit suicide. And suicide is very high for these defectors because they don't know what to do afterwards. So they're just left, free land where they can do whatever they want. So during Kim Jong-il's time, a lot of defectors were leaving. Most of them were women, because women were very, very much restricted in rights in North Korea as much more than men were. And during his time, he didn't really care whether or not they were leaving or not, because his guards were probably in the thousands, maybe 5,000. And his father before him wanted to actually unify the two nations, but died before he could do it. And so they just stayed separated. Well, after he died of a heart attack in 2011, his son, Kim Jong-un, who had been well educated, had been well bred for to become a leader, was so horrible at it. He even though the Great Famine was during his time, somehow he's just so much worse because he has so many guards guarding his Pyongyang that they're so restricted in freedom. And that's why less and less each year escape because they can't trust each other. Someone will snitch on one another because that's how they get rewarded. That's how you get rewarded for food. And also, this is just a wheel of power and control, which is what they basically use to inflict fear onto their citizens. There's physical, sexual, structural violence, emotional violence. Basically, isolating them so they can't really escape through any means necessary. They threaten their families. They threaten anyone that's near them. And so that's just a breakdown of them, and then you'll get to understand why the defectors are why they act that way. So for now, we're gonna go on to question 2. So hopefully you fill out question 1. Question 2 is gonna be about the defectors, and I just want you to list 2 things about each defector that stuck out to you the most. So it'll be bullet points, just 1 or 2 sentences, and just make sure you pay attention or look at the books or whatever, because I won't be going back. Just for time's sake. Alright. So let's start with Yo-Mae Park. She was born on October 4th, 1993, and he'll say a year before the Great Famine. The Great Famine was during 1994 to 1997, 1996. And it was during that time that the Russian, the Soviet Union collapsed. So they started taking them out of North Korea. They just brought back all their resources. They didn't want to really associate with them anymore. And so all the resources started dying out. The crops started failing. There was a lot of droughts. So many people were starving, and almost about 3 million died during that time. And they even had to eat mice, rats, insects, frogs. Some of them actually picked out corn or some pieces of food from feces, from the poop from animals. And so the way that Yo-Mae survived, because her father worked in the illegal trade for metals. And during this time, the second leader, Kim Il-sung, the first leader, Kim Il-sung, died of a heart attack. So they're in the process of getting a new leader in. So they weren't very worried about the citizens as much as they were about getting a new leader. Her father was arrested in 2002 because they found out that he was illegally trading with the Chinese. And they had to find a way of making up money, so his mom had to work twice as much. And he was able to bribe himself out of prison, but after he was out of prison, he got diagnosed with colon cancer. And so the family fled, but they didn't know that the youngest had left with a friend without notifying them. And so they had to go to China. And there they found a lot of smugglers, a lot of male smugglers. And they were asking around if they had saw Yo-Mae, her younger sister. And they said no, but we don't want you to say anything bad about us. We're gonna threatened her that they were going to deport them, her and her mother, if they didn't, if he didn't get to have sex with Yume. And her mother said that, no, I don't want her to get hurt, so she took her place instead. But human trafficking is very common, and towards 2009 and 10, her and her mother escaped to South Korea. So in China, there's a lot of human trafficking. There's a lot of female defectors more than male defectors, and female defectors are more likely to be put into human trafficking due to that they don't want to be deported back. So they believe that this is better than going back to eating rats and frogs and insects. That takes a toll on your mental sanity. So this is Shin Dong-hyuk. He was born in an internment camp. His parents were married as it was for his father's good work. And this was common in his camp. It wasn't like new. He worked most of his childhood. He actually saw one of his classmates die. It was a girl. She got hit so many times that she just passed out and she died. She got dead blood loss. His mother was abusive. He often cared for her older brother more than him. And there was a point where she wanted to escape with his older brother. And he was so jealous of his brother because his brother got not only more respect, but he got better food than him. He got rice, and in the camps that was considered a more higher quality food. And so he decided to tell on them. He told a night guard. The night guard took all the credit, and he was stuck 7 months in an underground jail where they tortured him for 7 months. And then he was forced to watch the execution of his mother and brother. But at that time, he didn't know any better. He thought that they deserved it. And towards his adult years, he met a 40-year-old man named Park at a textile mill. And wanting to get food, he planned to escape with him. Because that's what he really wanted. He wanted food. Food was really, he even quote, freedom to me is still like roasted chicken. Because all he got was like cornmeal and like rats. Park died when he tried to go over the electric fence, and when he did, Shin was able to go through by using his body as a ground current and having him so that he wouldn't get shocked by the fence, but he still got bruises. Towards the middle of the 2000s, he traveled to China and then to South Korea. He was accidentally discovered by a journalist who helped him apply for an asylum so that he wouldn't be forced to go back or be deported. And for him, it was more of a physical abuse to the point where he never got propaganda. It was just, he never knew about his leader. All he knew was to work and survive and try to fight food. So he was born in the outskirts of Cheongji in 1947, and Brianne's family was able to live just barely. Her father was kidnapped by, he was actually a South Korean war. He was a South Korean soldier, and he was kidnapped and he had to work in the mines as punishment. As a teen, she didn't really fit well with the culture in which women were put in, and she often rejected like most stereotypes. Like she went out at night, but she didn't like the fact that her brother received more attention than her. He got shoes, he got to eat rice, he got to have better education than her, and she thought it was unfair. But her parents told her not to say anything because that was how it worked. And she dated a half Japanese boy named Jong Sang, but it only lasted for a few years because due to the boy's duty, he was pressured to go into a college in Pyongyang, and he was so busy that he didn't realize that she didn't want to live there. Towards her late teens, she realized she couldn't go to a college because of where her father and her family stood in the social pyramid. They're on bottom. And to that, the colleges said, we're not going to accept you because your father is a traitor. And traitors' spawns don't get to go to school.